Wine Library TV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk. And this, my friends, is the Thunder Show, aka the internet's most passionate wine program. And as you can see, I have a guest, and we're standing. What do you think about that?
I like it.
He likes standing.
We're not
Joe,
trapped in a box.
I've been promising him this episode forever. I was supposed to go to a Buffalo Bills game. You live in Canada.
No, I live in Buffalo. Everybody thinks I live in Canada.
Why does everybody think that?
Because I live in Buffalo.
Fair enough. So Joe's here. We have a really awesome get-together. We have a ton of Maniacs in the crowd in the wine library. We're at the tasting table where Julius rules the day. Come on, swing it over here to Julius. We take a little. Julius always wants to be on the show. Like, all right. I told Joe, go pick out a couple of $5, $10 wines, and we'll do them on the show. He goes out and picks $100 wines. So, just kidding. I said, Joe, go pick 3 wines that you really want. No rhyme or reason. Joe. He rolls deep. He's like P. Diddy. I mean, you can tell by the shirt. I mean, this guy drinks serious wine. Give him a little feel to the Vayner Nation what you drank last night, for example.
Oh man, we had some single vineyard Gaia La Moline. We had, Gigal La Moline. We had some Gaia Asparis. We had some Colgin Cabs. We had some Roberto Verzio single vineyard Barolos. Serious
juice, my friends. So we're going to taste 3 wines here today. We got a Spanish wine, a Bordeaux, and an Italian superstar. We've got a really nice lineup. I'm excited about trying it. I see that Joe's grabbed some cheese. He's probably a little hungry. I'm not really sure what that's all about. But let's get into the first one, Mott. How about Mott coming off on his day off into the wine lab? Let's clap it up for Mott. Chateau La Commence 2000 Pomerol. This is an 85% Merlot, 15% Cab Franc blend. 2000 is really an amazing vintage, and when you look back at it, with what's happened to the 2005 pricing, there are still some values to be had in the 2000 vintage. $60 US, 91 points, Robert Parker. Obviously, tremendous color. I mean, just gorgeous. Do you guys see this? I mean, is this pretty color?
Yes.
This is pretty. Yeah. You should see the heads nodding. It's pretty. Let's give it a little sniffy sniff. What are you getting here?
First thing right off the bat, I mean, hate to say it and always jump that horse, but pyrazine, celery seed right off the bat for me. In almost every Bordeaux varietal from around the world, wherever I drink it from, you do pull that out of there, and I do get that little whack of pyrazine in there, a little touch of celery seed.
I get nerd purple candy, which I like. I mean, there's quite a candy fruit coming through on the nose as well.
It's very dark, sweet fruit.
I also get a little bit of basil on the back end, which I like. You get a little bit of herbaceous aspect?
Yeah, it's definitely
inky.
in there.
It smells inky.
It's inky. I get a lot of graphite and some...
I do get a lot of graphite. There's pencil and tennis rackets in this one.
No, a lot of the graphite, a lot of the classic scorched earth notes that you can get from the right thing Bordeaux are coming through on this for me. I'm getting a lot of this.
To me, this is a lot more fruit forward than I would have expected on the nose. I mean, there's intense hot jam type flavors, and really, in a weird way, you almost come across with like Barossa hot fresh fruit from like 2005, more so than 2000 Merlot based wine. And this is really what shows about the 2000 vintage, why so many people went wild and crazy over it. It was so approachable and drinkable young. Unlike a lot of 2005s. 2005s are really exciting, everybody's excited, but except for some of the different wines here and there, and some of the little baby $15, $20 wines, most of them are tight as a rock. They're like in hibernation, whereas these wines were very fruity from the get-go. But a lot of fruit coming through on the nose.
There's a lot of fruit, but I think a lot of that jammy bakeness that you're talking about has to do with the soils up here. A lot of clay.
Always.
They retain the moisture.
You ever stick your hand in the clay at Pomerol? We need to get you out there.
No. Okay.
I mean, it is fun. It's fun. You bring a couple G.I. Joes out to the, play around in the clay. I mean, it's very clay-like.
I've done it at home. But
I hear you. Understood. Go ahead.
Just a beautiful, I mean, this is, like you said, it is a very liqueured, very jammy, very ripe, a lot of black fruit, some dark plums, but you do get some of that beautiful cigar tobacco, and like I said, a little bit of that celery seed, which is all really indicative of this region.
See what happens when you get front row seat? It's really got a great bouquet. I'm really impressed. I mean, I wouldn't say it's worth the price admission, but if it was a $20 wine, I would pay it just to smell this wine. Joe, let's give it a whirl. I like your thumb ring too. Mom, get in on this. Let's go. so it tastes totally different than it smells.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
To me, I get that one thing that I love so much on the initial attack for a split second, and the second lasts forever, like your first kiss. I taste pickle juice, and it makes me happy. I get a little pickle juice on the front end, and I like that quite a bit. It's very herbaceous and green in comparison to the nose. A lot of fruit in the upfront nose, but on the palate, it is a very earthy play. You get a leather cedar box, little dirt bomb action. You remember the dirt dries out, you throw it, and it looks like a bomb. You know, so dirt bomb action, but you still get black fruit. What do you get, Joe?
It definitely, it's not as ripe on the palate.
Not even close.
No, I get a lot of minerality in this wine too on the back end. You know, this is your classic Bordeaux medium. You know, medium body, medium alcohol, medium acid. Like I said, it's not as deep and dark and rich, and all the things you said there are definitely on the back end. So it's kind of a tale of two wines.
It's extremely tannic.
Yeah, there's some tannin in there.
There's a lot, and what's interesting about this, taste this again, I think you'll find this interesting. I just kind of thought about it a little bit more. Very heavy dosage of tannins on the back end. However, because they're sweet tannins, you don't normally pick them up. A lot of people, when they drink wine, if it's bitter, like, oh, this is tannic. But when the tannins are very sweet, you don't really pick up on it quite a bit. But when you really start breaking down this wine, on the back end, the tannins are quite tight and really shows you the girth, the structure. It's kind of like the way my dad built this building. We can actually build 16 stories high. If we went in the basement, the pillars, the steel frame of this building is way too much, Dad. But that being said, same with this wine. The structure of this wine really, without any hesitation, I feel that this wine has the backbone to last another 20, 30 years even because of that back-end tannins that I'm tasting.
There's a lot of structure. I'm not super surprised by it though.
No.
You know,
that broke.
I think it is a misconception that people think that the right bank doesn't have as much tannin as it really does.
Preach it, Joe.
Yeah, for me it's more a combination of the effect of what you're perceiving. Cabernet on the left bank tends to be a little bit more leaner, a little bit more austere, and it's more of the structure, more of the skeleton, and the tannin plays through a little bit more. The right bank can be plumper, fatter, juicier, higher alcohol, possibly sometimes a little bit more oak treatment. So what happens is that it's the same amount of tannin, but it's like the equivalent of dare I say, but I'm going to go there. A woman wearing a bikini. You see
Be careful,
her
Joe.
I'm looking at G. No, it's G. Okay. But a woman wears a bikini, and you can see her structure. You can see her body. You take the same woman, put a fur coat on her. No, you put a fur coat on her. It's the same structure. It's the same body, but you don't see it as much.
I see.
Right bank has the plumper, juicier, fatter, higher alcohol, a little bit more oak treatment. So the tannin may be there. You just don't perceive it as much.
You know what I find funny, this just made me think of it, when you go to Bordeaux, the left bank and the right bank, it's hardcore. It's like Crips and Bloods in there. I mean, they are some serious beef in Bordeaux, my friends. And a lot of people feel that the right bank is fake and over the top, and they call it California to my face. They make fun of America, and then I have to throw down. But anyway, the fact of the matter is that I agree with you with a lot that you have to say there. This is a very intriguing wine. After we're done tasting, we'll let you guys taste some of it. I really think that it is perfectly summed up in a tale of two wines, because the front end, so fruity, so New World. The back end, the actual palate on the flavor of what you drink, gets a lot more structure and a little bit more Old World. But we should have underlined the Kirsch chocolate fruit is still there.
I was just about to say the chocolate's really coming through on the back end.
How would you score this little sucker?
Really, really nice. This is great wine. I'm in the solid 91/92 camp on it. I think it has great structure, great integrity, and a lot of promise in the future. I'm
in the same ballpark. I think this is a 91 point wine. I think it's very good for 60 bucks, considering that there's some pretty average 05 Bordeaux out there for 60 bones right now. This is a nice little play, and if you're able to find 2000s in that $40 to $60 range that bring a little thunder, they're still very exciting. The problem is they're hard to find.
Yep.
Let's move on. That was good. That was a good start.
Yeah, I liked it.
Bruno Giacosa. Barolo, 1999, $95 US. And let's see what's going on here.
Love it. Bruno Giacosa is one of the pioneers of the traditional style Barolo camp.
Yeah, I mean he's a Nebbiolo pimp, as he likes to go by. So, you know, I mean, it is absolutely one of the pioneers in Piedmonte. Have you drank a lot of Giacosa?
Not a lot, enough. I mean, one of the things is, you know, I have a lot, you have a lot, but it's hard to find it. with any age on as a drink. This wine comes from the vineyards of Castiglione di Falletto, which is in the northeast region of Barolo. Barolo is divided in the left and right half, similar to Bordeaux is.
Correct.
And the left half is known for having vineyards that are more easily approachable, early accessible.
I hate that misconception. Just jumping in. Sorry, Joe. Keep going.
But it does ring true sometimes.
Sometimes. But I'm telling you, keep going.
Okay.
I'm just going to jump in because he's exactly right. It's a complete textbook. But what I taste there, I completely, I don't know. I completely think that that's, in the wine world, and you know this, in every world, the general rules, we're America, we like 6 quick ways to lose 3 pounds, 9 places to go this summer. The rules are too general, and I think there's so many great vineyards in the South, but Falletto is one of the great areas in the world. And Giacosa, if you've ever had Brino Giacosa, he has another level up called the Red Label, and that gets into $200-300 price points. Pretty baller stuff. Very, very serious wines. But what I find intriguing is that a lot of times in head-to-head blind tastings, 5 years ago I was doing quite a lot of Barolo blind tastings. A lot of times the Falletto would top even the Red Label, Falletto. So let's give it a sniffy sniff.
Sure. Wow, it's like strawberry pie.
There's a nice strawberry. There's also, I get almost like a Band-Aid kind of thing. I'm trying to, almost like a medicine cabinet. Not like medicine, but what is that? You know what? Are you getting a little, it's kind of, strawberries for sure. Let's definitely start with that. But I almost get like,
there's like a little iodine component. Like I see what you're talking about. That medicinal.
There's also an extremely interesting like soil component, which I like. Also gets a little mushroomy. Get a little fungus action on this wine, which I'm always down for.
Pretty classic with traditional Barolo.
You know what? Rhubarb too. I get a little rhubarb in there, which is kind of interesting. No, go ahead.
I definitely get some of the. I usually rarely ever drink good Nebbiolo without finding some hint of cinnamon in it. And there definitely is a little baking spice.
I agree 1,000%. As a matter of fact, I was going to follow up with cinnamon on rhubarb. That is a tremendous job by Joe G. Let's clap it up for him. That's a really good job. I just wanted to clap for him. But it's really, you crushed that. I really get the cinnamon hard on the tail end. It's a really underlining flavor on the nose. So you're digging deep. Your nose is coming through for you a little bit here.
I dig, man.
You dig.
That's what I do.
Let's give it a whirl. We should mention this is a 90-point Galoni wine, which is a nice score, not too crazy. I get a little rusty nail right off the top and the back end, that little petrol-y kind of like, like car shop kind of thing going on, which I like quite a bit. What do you think about this?
Let me get one more.
I'll do this one first. To me, this is a very solid Barolo. It's got good fruit, good structure. I do like the rusty nail kind of thing going on in the back end palate. I also like the fact that it has great depth on the finish, and the tannins are really nice, firm, but light, and are letting you get accessible. I also do believe, though, that this is a little bit more simplistic than I thought it would be. It's a nice, solid Barolo. It does disappear a little bit on the transition of the mid palate to the finish, and on the palate and on the finish, it's kind of soft. It's not crushing. It's not depth. It's definitely not as layered as top $100 Barolo that I've had in the past. So to me, it's a little bit of a weak effort. Joe G, what do you got?
Yeah, not much more. My look at it is, I think it is accessible right now. I mean, the tannin is definitely accessible and approachable. And I don't think it has enough fruit to drive much further. But the thing for me that's really lacking is it is a little bit short and it is incredibly simple. It thins out quite a bit on the back end. You start off, you get this nice attack, and then it just kind of...
It's a cliff! Yeah, I mean, to me, really, I'd be hard-pressed to spend $40 on this wine, let alone $100. So I'm going to have to give this wine a pass. I'm scoring this wine 87 points. It's a good effort. It's a nice bottle of wine. But nobody in this room, especially with the economy the way it is right now, is going to be pumped to spend 100 bones on a wine like this, in my opinion. What do you got?
I'm right with you. I mean, and I had huge hopes for this wine. I mean, this is the first wine I picked out.
Would you say your hopes have been dashed?
Oh, my goodness. They're not even, yeah, worse than dashed. You know, we could have pretty much picked up a $12 Nebbiolo Diavolo to have done this.
Well, that's not crazy. That's not real. I mean, this guy, it's not happening.
No, I'm in the probably 86 to 88 range. I'm going to give it a little bit vaguer range. But right in there. It's good wine, solid wine. Just nothing that excites me.
And finally, the Hacienda Monasterio 2005 Ribera del Duero. This is an 80% Tinto Fino, also known as Tempranillo, 10% Cab, 10% Merlot, $44 US. So it's the least expensive, but it's a big fruit bomb, so we didn't want to do it earlier. It would have hurt the pattern. That's why, if you're wondering, so rinse it, sorry, rinse it here. $44 US, 93 points, Jay Miller, but he does tend to get a little high. Though I love you, Jay, Dr. Jay. Let's see what's going on here. 44 bones, good price. Tell us why you picked this wine for us to taste.
Oh man, second favorite wine region in the world. I think that this wine region brings the most unique terroir of any in the world.
More unique than Ohio?
No, second.
Okay.
Sorry.
Just making sure.
This region brings it in all levels. Very rarely will you find a region in the world where you get this ripe fruit with this high natural alcohol levels plus high acid maintained. Two good reasons for that, if I may. Really high elevation.
Sure show, Joe.
25 to 2,800 feet above sea level. Really high elevation.
Very high.
Screaming hot days. 100+ degree temperature days, which gives that unbelievable ripeness of the fruit. Big sugars, high alcohol. But at night, drops down to under 50 degrees at night, so you retain your moisture in the soil, so that in the morning you have all that moisture bed laid off.
Unless it's 2007, where they had ridiculously uncanny outside the box weather, where it didn't get as hot and it didn't get as cool, and you're really going to taste them in the 07s. Just FYI, because I think a lot of people are going to start seeing those in the market soon. A very non-traditional vintage, but I agree that Scape is so much of its characters. Keep going.
One more reason. The soil is just loaded with limestone and chalk. And during those baking, scorching hot days, that minerality component forms a crust. It's called the Duero bake, as hard as this tabletop. And it's the same principle as searing a steak. You get that hard outside sear on the meat, and the soil sears, and again, the moisture can't come out. So you always have a good water bed.
It's like I like my steak Pittsburgh style, charred and soft. It's a very similarity. Have you been to Rivera?
Not that area.
We need to get you as well. I mean, this place, not only are the wines great, and Joe just gave you a lot of reasons why it's a very interesting region, but the food is ripping good. You get sausage and like pig snout and like oxtail and all sorts of weird stuff that you're just loving life. And really interesting white wines in the area that you can get for like $8 to $10. Ribera, to me, 4 or 5 years ago, 2008, 7 or 8 years ago, really represented by far, in my opinion, the best value in the world. It's a little bit jumped the shark in pricing. This Hacienda Monasterio, for example, in 1994, one of the first wines I brought into Wine Library when I started doing the buying here was $19.99, and we were selling crap loads because it was a great price and it really competed well. Now we've seen big Parker press in that decade. Spectator jumped on board, and now we're seeing the wines roll in at 44 on sale. So it's a little bit of a situation that you need to understand that it's a great area, and I agree with you. Just you have to navigate. A decade ago, you could really jump in at 20 bucks and crush it almost every time, whereas now, there are some $40, $50 wines that are kind of meh in the region. Right. And again, 07, be careful of. So anyway, let's give it a snippy snip.
Well, that's ripe.
Very ripe. I mean, almost like dessert wine ripe on the nose. I also smell a little bit of a grape nuts component. I love that cereal. Anybody here a grape nuts fan? Yeah. Very nice. All about grape nuts.
There's so much deep, dark black fruit and coffee element to this wine. I'm really digging it. The oak is really coming through.
Yeah. There is a definite hint of the oak monster. I didn't want to scare Joe. He'd probably punch me. And the other thing is that I get almost like a plum flavored coffee. So you get a little very heavy, dark reduction plum component coming through on the nose, which is nice. I mean, this is very fruit bombing. I mean, to me, somebody who's a big fan of the real fruit-forward, California Napa flavors, or like even like a Molly Duker fan. I mean, the fruit is that ripe coming across on the nose.
This is the #1 region of the world that I always preach. If you're a new world wine drinker, go to Ribera del Duero and Toro. Last night I was served blind. I was served a 03 Toro, and right out of the bottle, a little bit cold. My first reaction.
Was it Cleo?
No, it was a Pinto. And first reaction, California Cab, right out of the bottle.
Sure.
So, this is my region to go
Party.
for.
Let's give it a whirl.
Wow, that's mouthfeel.
like somebody took a velvet glove and stuck it directly in your mouth. And that's a good thing. And a very, very smooth effort. That would be the first thing that I would represent on this wine. What are you thinking?
Love this house, love this label. Very impressed at the vintage that this is drinking like this right now. I was a little concerned being the 05, that's what the cheese was for. I don't need it. I'm going to eat it, but I don't need it. I think this is unbelievable. The mouthfeel on this wine is so rich and plummy and jammy and baked and lush. And then it just really tails off into this beautiful long with some nice complexity finish. I'm digging it.
Very heavy on the pure, you can't buy it in America, real French licorice on this wine. I mean, just enormous gobs of, yeah, he's of course from Copenhagen, knows exactly what I'm talking about. The real licorice. Just take that, reduce it, put it in a microwave, something, melt it down. You get that kind of flavor on this wine, which I like quite a bit. And that grape nuts component that I picked up on the nose, I'm actually feeling it in the palate. Even though it's very rich and blackberry, you get almost like a mulberry component as well. I do get a little graininess and a little like weedy kind of thing. It's very subtle in the back end, which I find quite interesting.
Did you say greenness?
Not greenness, like a weedy, like a brush, like wild brush.
Yep. This wine tastes purple. If you could taste a color, purple or black, that's what this wine tastes like. It is so long, so rich, so lush. The tannins are shockingly not ripping me
Mellow.
apart. Yeah, like I thought they would.
And you get the, have you done cheese?
No,
yet?
I'm
Do that. Get a little fat oil in there. You'll be shocked. It goes completely silky smooth on you.
And the acid, but the acid is still bright and crisp and fresh, and makes the wine really, really lively.
Yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of this wine as well. What are you going to score that up, Joe? Yep. Sorry, I'm just checking out the Pomerol real quick.
Well, I'm all about that wine. I think it's got balance, length, depth, layers, love. I think I'd be silly to say 92, but egregious to say 93. So I'm going right in between.
So you're 92 plus.
Yeah.
I think this has great balance. I think this is a wine that really has a line in the sand. I think it is fruity, balmy enough that if you are an old wine world wine drinker, you will not like this wine. I think it went far enough in the structure and the fruit and the balance that I think this could turn off some people. So this is a buyer beware. Know your own palate. Don't listen to Joe or I or anybody else for that matter. Trust your own palate. So if you know your palate and you know you like fruit, if you're a California Napa fan, if you like Barossa Shiraz, if you like rich, newer world 03, let's say, vintage Chateauneuf de Pape, this is a wine that's going to rock your socks off. To me, it's a very solid wine. To me, that's a 92, 93 point wine. If you're more of an old world fan, that's why I jumped into the Pomerol, because it was a little more old world. And it was amazing to me, tasting that, going back to the Pomerol, how much of the greeniness I picked up even like on a broccoli component that I didn't see before. So I wanted to use it as a reference point. That's why I did that. To me, it does a very good job in being so good that I can't see old world fans being appalled by its effort because it's a solid bottle of wine. For my palate, it gets a hair too licoricey, a hair too hot, and a hair too much oak. So I'm more in the 91, 90 plus range, but I think it's a very solid effort. At 44 bucks, there's probably 85% of the wine drinking public that's going to be extremely happy with this wine. I think it's a very good effort. I gotta be honest with you, going into this tasting, I had the biggest hopes for the Bruno Giacosa, and that's why you can't jump in with preconceived notions. And I think Joe, I think you did a nice job, Joe. I think you did a nice job.
I don't like nice though.
Well, you did a nice job.
Thank you.
Joe, question of the day. You know what the guests do.
Yeah.
Fire it away.
Everyone has a different reason for doing something. Some people do things just to go through and do it. Right. Some people jump in and do it. For me, wine is everything. It's what I do. It's what I live for. It's why I fly from Buffalo, Canada to New Jersey
to hang out
with these guys. I'm going to Seattle next month to taste with those guys, just to taste with them.
With the Seattle Vaniac.
So it's everything for me. And
You're
for
the traveling Vaniac.
No, that's Caleb. But anyway,
that's true.
For one moment in my life, regardless of what's going on, when I'm in that bottle of wine, that's all there is that bottle of wine. And it takes me away. Why do you drink
Jets
wine?
play for 3 hours. Why do you drink wine?
Why do you drink wine?
Enjoy it.
Shh. We're asking the maniacs. You, with a little bit of me, Joe, you were a tremendous guest.
Thanks, man.
Brought a lot of thunder knowledge-wise.
Thanks.
We're changing the wine world, whether they like it or not.
Awesome.
Awesome.